Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is 58 Keys, which as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs, particularly Macs today, but also iPhones and iPads. Do subscribe or support 58 Keys on Patreon because, well, there's always so much to talk about, including today. It's just possible that today you might question it a little bit, since this is a 3-biscuit guide to this, the Stream Deck. And try as you might, you can't write on them. You can break them though. Worry about that later. It's not a writing tool, okay? But 3-biscuit guides on 58 Keys, they're meant to be in-depth, really bring provisions, bring biscuits, deep dives into everything there is to know about a writing topic, or okay, at least everything that I know or that I can find out about that topic. Still, it's worth doing this with the Stream Deck though, because okay, it might not be something can't conceive of a way you can write on it, but I also right now I couldn't conceive of using it, of not having it with me alongside my writing, at least on my main Mac. It's a tool for controlling your Mac, is a short way of saying it. Well, actually, tell you what, let me just show you. Okay, I would like to show you just a couple of things a Stream Deck can do for us as writers, and then if I've convinced you that it's worth a look, well, you can stay with me for the full guide of, well, I was going to say the full guide of how you do things. Out of the box, right, the Stream Deck itself does nothing, or close to nothing. Its entire purpose is to start and stop things for you, to launch some things, to change some things. You get a button. You can decide what that button does. You can put an image on that button to remind you of what it is you've decided that it should do, and then you get to press the button. This is all sounding very obvious now so far, but I would like to give you, please, a couple of examples of how I happen to use my Stream Deck and these buttons in my writing business, so that you can see some of its range, okay, so that you can see some of what kinds of things it might be good for you for. And what I don't want to, you saw me hesitate, and I don't want to then detail every step of every example, but instead I'll show you something I think is more useful generally. I'd like to show you exactly how to set up one of these buttons, including how you can do the image thing that goes on it. One button to do a single thing. Press the button and it does it. And then I'd like us to talk about how you set up one button to do two things. A toggle. Actually, a toggle such as this. I have a new light on my desk for when I'm doing Zoom calls and things. And here's a button. I press the button. The light goes off. I press the button. The light goes back on again. So the button's there. The light's there. I'll show you how to do that. But actually, you know, just that in my head, I really like that, but you say it out loud, it doesn't really seem all that exciting. It's a light switch. Okay, maybe not exciting, but so useful. Okay, particularly because of this. Should you choose to, yes, you can have that one button turn on the light. Sure, fine, but the one button could then also set up a do not disturb focus mode. It could open Zoom. It could start a countdown. I don't know why that example popped into my head. A bit random there, but you could, I suppose. And right, I feel like I've got a failure of imagination here. But oh, you could play music if you really wanted to. You could send an email, go crazy, run shortcuts. You can do anything from a button. The thing is that one button press can, should you choose, do countless things. And let's make that the next thing to show you in the list. So first there's one button, one thing, and then one button, two things, and then one button, everything. After that, I suppose really you need to know how much does a button cost. It'll come down to that in the end. But rather than keep telling you what I'm going to tell you about it, let's get on. Let's pick up the pace here a little bit and start with an example. Okay. This is my default setup for the Stream Deck on my desk here in my office. Most of the time, it looks like this, these buttons and stuff. But just as this one example, I write for appleinsider.com, and as it happens, not unusually, they tend to need a particular set of apps to be used and available. Certain tools you need for that job. You've noticed it, haven't you, the big AI button. Well, when it's time to come write for them, I press that. Really got to fix that. Do you see the whole strip down the middle changes. In fact, let's just put it back up there. So, strip down the middle changes. These are all things that I need when I'm doing with apple and cider. And actually, it starts with this one here, which I don't think you can see because I don't think I did it very clearly, but it starts with like a sunrise thing, and I can press that. All of this is going on, but I mean, you're not surprised. Company confidential, there's some things I had to blur out, and actually, as it happens, I've had to stop it just before the end. But with that one button, I start up everything I need for that job. I have everything that I need for this particular work just done, ready. I can get on with it. I especially like, I mean, maybe this is just me, I especially liked that the Stream Deck and tools behind it kind of chucked one of the things onto a separate screen and then came back. That's nice. One more example, 1.5 more examples. This is the live writing sprint for 58 Keys Patreon members. Actually, could you all give me a little wave there? You see that one? Trouble. Always trouble. Just letting you know. This is actually a highlight of my week because we talk. We have a little bit of talk at the start and then we gas on a bit at the end. But the important thing is it's a highlight for me because sometimes this is the only hour I get in the week to work on the novel. And it's so important to me. But to make absolutely certain that we do the full hour, I push a button. And it's this button right here, which none of you have ever seen, I realise actually, but you've seen the effects of it because when I'm just crazy enough to press this button, this happens. Oh, good, it worked. It doesn't always work. That is the ominous countdown clock. And I realised actually I love it. And I look at that during the hour and I check and I keep concentrating and I won't even go to the loo or anything. But I've never asked any of you, do you even notice the clock?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I look at it while I'm writing for sure.
Yeah, I keep a check on how much time we've got left because, like you, it's like, really? We're at 3 minutes? How did that happen?
You don't ever have any dread of the inexorable dwindling of time? No, that's getting too much.
Yes, I do.
Right, okay, I said trouble, didn't I? That's a very specific example there, isn't it? But all right, tell you what, while I'm being specific, that was from a live writing sprint, which is a 58 Keys Patreon thing every Sunday. We just write for an hour. Well, we write for an hour and then we talk for a little bit. Do please check out the Patreon link in the show description for it, because I mean, actually, it would be fun to have you there as well, writing along with me, with everyone. Especially actually, sorry, this is on my mind, especially because I'm looking to do more of these writing sprint hours. Because right now, there's one that's at a time on a Sunday that just happens to suit me here in the UK. But no, I really want to add some more that work at different times, that work for the US, for Canada, for Europe, for everywhere, really. Partly so I can meet more writers, talk more, but also partly so that you, specifically you, can keep me writing for another hour. I kind of need your pressure there, need that help. Anyway, if that countdown clock was absurdly specific, here's something, here's an example, last one, I know you could use. I said that Stream Deck doesn't do anything out of the box, but actually it comes with a lot of options. They just aren't set up for them. They're all ready to go when you want them, such as a whole set of things for Zoom calls. And I presume all video conferencing, but I use them in Zoom. That button there, I've set it up to mute and unmute. This one turns the camera on and off, and this is the way I leave all Zoom calls, and I know you would too if you had it. You know, you've said you're in a Zoom meeting, you said bye, and you have to find your cursor, hunt for the, click on the leave button or whatever it is that Zoom has decided to call the leave button in its latest redesign, and then you press that, and oh, up comes a "Are you sure?" button. You got to keep the frozen smile going, and now you got to move. No, just press the button on the Stream Deck. Gone. You're out of there. Completely finished. In fact, it's so quick, I'm going to have to show you this in slow motion. I love that button for getting out. I love it for getting out Zoom, except I still carry some guilt over this. You saw Carl there in that live writing sprint moment. He once had this great gag. He started saying a really funny line, just as my finger touched the button. And I cut him off. I cut us all off. I had to go back in and ask him, what were you going to say? Stream Deck needs a comedy detector. That's what it needs, or maybe Zoom does. I need you to know there are now many, many different types of Stream Decks. This is the biggest one. All of them, yeah, almost all, there's one tiny exception. They all work in exactly the same way. There's a button. It has a screen on it. The difference is chiefly, exclusively, in how many buttons you get. So I started out with this. I then went on to that, the one I keep breaking in front of you. And the nice thing is you can just keep using all of them. Okay, there are people who've got 2 of these large ones, and I am quite certain they are very happy with their purchases. Their bank account might not agree, but yeah. You keep using all of them, you have all of them, but I'll tell you what, let's build up to that. Here's how to do this thing I promised of setting up one button on any Stream Deck to do one thing. Specifically, let's have it be one button to just launch an app. You know, why not? With the Stream Deck plugged into your Mac and Elgato, the maker's app, downloaded, run Elgato's Stream Deck software, and you see this. Again, hesitation, you'll see something like it. If you have a Stream Deck with fewer buttons than I happen to have, well, then you'll see fewer slots, fewer buttons on the app. Just aside, I do need to say that Elgato Stream Deck software is not brilliant. There's just no question. It was made for Windows and then it was chucked or ported over to the Mac because, how to describe this, it's not a good Mac citizen. For example, when you run it, it doesn't have a Mac style menu. It doesn't, the file edit menu, that doesn't exist. It doesn't show up. Oh, this is crazy. When you do Command Tab to switch to your open apps, Stream Deck isn't there. Don't know why. And unless I'm completely wrong, which, I mean, it's obviously possible, so if I am, you've got to tell me, please. I don't believe that you can have Stream Deck appear as a menu bar icon, the way I've got all these other ones running there. It is possible to have the Stream Deck in your dock on your Mac, but you have to positively, specifically put it there. Why else would it be there? Okay, you can drag it from the applications folder into the dock, but the thing is, if you don't, it doesn't appear in the dock the way normally current or recently used apps do anyway. So I always find I go in to do something, then I come out to do something else or test it or something, and then I want to go back, but I can't find the Stream Deck app again. It's like a ghost app. Brigadoon app, that's a better phrase. Fortunately, for one thing, you don't have to go into the app all that often, really, but it's often enough, I find, that I've actually spent a button on it. Let's skip to the end there, William. I have put a button right here, so then just press that and quickly get into the app. Do you know, I'm wondering now, having described it to you, whether I'll put Stream Deck in my Mac's dock so that I can reclaim that button. But the thing is, I mean, everything on a Stream Deck you could do with a keystroke or a mouse click. I mean, you get so used to having a button. Anyway, once you're in the Stream Deck app, just to finish, apparently trying to put you off, thing, you get in and still it's a bit clunky when you're in there. However, it's clunky in one way. Once you know how to use this thing, you keep doing the same thing and it does everything, which is this. Click on a square on a blank button. That is now the button that you're going to set up. That is your target button. What you do there is going to go on here. And the way you set it up is, having clicked select it, you choose from this side menu. Right. Your menu, your side menu, your panel there, which it looks different to mine because everybody's looks different to everybody's over time. The reason is you get a standard set of options called actions. You get all of those by default, but then you can add to them, and I have added over these. I've fiddled, basically. But since I know you have the standard set, click in here, please, and type the word open. And now with that showing, click on the word open, drag it over to whichever button you fancy, and now look at the bottom of the screen. With that button still highlighted, this is where you set precisely what that button does. So it's not just open, but what does it open? In this case, well, I tell you what, in this case, click on the icon there of it's like a document icon. Click on that, find an app through it, a file or an app, whatever you want, select it, click open, and now that's it. You're done. That button launches that app. There are these other options, a couple of other options around there that you might logically think would come first, such as giving the button a title, for example, or over to this bit here, giving it the image that you want to see on the button. But the thing is with the Stream Deck is once you've gone through this and chosen the app or the document that you want the button to open, it just overwrites anything you've written in the title or the image stuff. It overwrites the title with the name of the thing you're opening. Sometimes actually it formats the title oddly, presumably with longer app names, it kind of puts in a line break in no obvious pattern or reason to it. But since this is up to you, fine. But the way I look at it is I've got an image there. I'm going to have an image there. I don't also want a title. So you can set where the text appears, I should say that, the bottom of the button, the middle of the button, the top of the button, but I think it's always really ugly. So I click on that T icon there and I untick Show Title every time. If you've decided, by the way, that what the button should open is an app rather than, say, a particular document from that app, then the Stream Deck recognizes it's an app and takes the app's icon like this, and you're now done completely. Button set up, image, everything. If it isn't an app you're opening, or you want to change it to any other image, well then you make that other image, you make it separately. Stream Deck button images are square and they are 72 pixels by 72 pixels. You can have bigger pictures if you want, but they get scaled down, and that scaling down happens when you drag the image onto this box. But I should say here, lots of different ways to do the same thing. I tend to just drag into that box. It's done. It just kind of seems natural. Here's the box. There's my icon. Drag. But there are other ways to add icons, and there are benefits to doing other ways for it. Click to select this icon box, make sure that's highlighted, and you get a plus sign, I mean a really tiny plus sign at the top left, plus you get a down arrow at top right. Let's do the plus one first. Clicking that opens a new window with the Stream Deck icon library. If you see something you like, did I just say Stream Deck? You see something you like, click, and you've got it. It's done. Let's go to the down arrow. Clicking on that gives you 3 or 4 options depending on certain things, but only one of them is ever interesting. Create new icon. And the others are, there's the same Stream Deck library, don't know why it's there as well, and adding one by clicking on the image and finding the file and opening, like you're opening a document. And if you've already added an image of your own, there's another option that appears, which is basically how to ditch that and go back to whatever Stream Deck believes is the default for that button, for that. It's a default image for that button. Create new icon is the one that you want, if you want any. Clicking on that takes you out of the Elgato app and opens up their website called the Elgato Key Creator. This is really similar to the library, the icon library, in that it presents a slew of pre-built icons, but it also has a compose window, and you can drag any image or bits of an image into there and overlay them. You can start the process of building up an image for your Stream Deck button from this compose window. I've played with this. I've made a right mess with this. I don't tend to use it. I've not gone back, but you might like it much more than I do. Just for reference, what I do instead is, well, since I use image tools in my work every day, so, I mean, on the one hand, yeah, there are image apps that are more powerful than the Key Creator, sure, but also just, you know, I know them better. I use them all the time, so why not? What I do, for what it's worth, is I make a blank 72 pixel square canvas in Pixelmator Pro, and I build my images on that. Or I did originally, right? Since mildly organized, I keep a copy of, well, when I remember it, I keep a copy of the Stream Deck icons as I make them. What now happens is I just grab one out of the folder, drag it into Pixelmator Pro, paint over it, start changing it, do something. Doubtlessly, you could do that in any image editor. Although I can't actually see how you could do it in Freeform or Preview, the two stock graphics apps, if you like, that I know you've got because they come pre-installed on the Mac. But failing anything else, you can always use any icon that's anywhere on your Mac. So, for instance, this button I've got here opens up a specific numbers spreadsheet for me. And since it's a spreadsheet, it's a document, it isn't the Numbers app, Stream Deck doesn't automatically use the Numbers icon, but you can. Find an application on your Mac, anywhere in the Finder, click to select it, press Command I or choose File, Get Info, and up pops this pane with details in it, and forget all the details. There's a teeny icon at the top of it. Click on that, choose Command C to copy it, and now we go over to something else. You can't paste that thing directly into Stream Deck, unfortunately. It'd be so handy if you could, but what you can obviously do is paste it into any image editor, Pixelmator Pro in my case, but any image editor. And this is nice, and also possibly slightly unobvious. You can also paste this new image into Preview. Open the Preview app, choose File, New from Clipboard. That creates a document that contains solely the icon that you just copied from that pane. And you can now save that to your Mac. Save it to the Mac and then drag the saved file onto that Stream Deck button and you're done. I promise doing it is quicker than describing it. Okay. Also, I notice I keep saying that you can do this because, well, you can, but there are a lot of other people who have already done it. They have already made a lot of icons that you can get through the Stream Deck. Well, there's a Stream Deck icon library, all that stuff, but there's also the Stream Deck Marketplace. The thing with the Marketplace is there's quite a bit more you can do there, quite a bit more you can get from there than icons, and what you might want to get from there depends on how you use everything else, what you like using the Stream Deck for. I do need to tell you a bit more about the Stream Deck first, so let's do that. A couple more features, then the Marketplace. I do prefer making icons in Pixelmator Pro because what I also like, well, I like fiddling and it keeps me away from writing, but several of my buttons are actually toggles. You press them once to turn something on, but then you can press the same button again to turn them off. Like the light switch I gave you example earlier. I like when I do that to have two icons so that I can look down and see that something is on, if it isn't as obvious as a light, and then the same one to show me when it's off. Or the mute on Zoom, is it muted, unmuted? I do that by making an icon and then maybe taking an icon and slapping a red line across it to make a different icon. Stream Deck calls this having a multi-action switch. Notice there is also a different action just called multi-action, but for now, just know please that it's the switch version, multi-action switch that you need. You search, quickest way is search by multi, but when you've got that, be sure to choose multi-action switch, drag that over to a button, and as soon as you do, once you let go, you get this. This is like a page with a highlighted number 1 at the top. This is the first thing the button will do when you press it for the first time, and you set that up. What it will do, you set it up just like you would any other button, just as you saw the one button, one thing. You search for what you need in this sidebar thing here, you drag it over to this area. I'm never quite sure what to call it, but let's say canvas. Why not? For want of a better term, this is the canvas. You drag it over to the canvas, and that's all I tend to do here. Drag over like the on state of the button. The one thing that I wanted to happen when I press it the first time. Okay, but you can add other steps. It doesn't have to be one thing. You can keep dragging these actions over to the canvas and building up just a slew, a mass of these things that all happen when you press one button. But let's just have one for now, though. And when we've chosen our one, click on the number 2 at the top and do it all over again. And what you're doing now, of course, is you're setting what happens when you press the button for the second time. Note that you can have the option here for 2 images. Clicking one or the 2, you get the regular Stream Deck slot for images, just like in the one button, one thing thing, and I can drag an on one into the first and then click on the number 2 and drag an off icon into the next. Usually it works, and usually this is actually a very useful way to turn one button into 2 buttons, to make one button be both the on and the off. Note that when you're done, by the way, I should say this because this is really easy to miss. When you're done setting up your multi-action switch, your 1 and your 2 things, you click on this arrow, this tiny little arrow, to go back. Also, because I know you're going to test this button, the moment that you've set it up, of course you are, close the Stream Deck app itself. Click on the red traffic light icon to just close it. It might not be necessary, but sometimes I found Stream Deck, the hardware thing, acts differently when that app is open. I think because it's expecting you to be doing something in the edit stuff. It's just something other than just using the button for, you know, what you actually want the button to do. Okay, I see that with a thing called profiles, which actually is something you and I need to have a bit of I'll sit down and talk about in just a moment. But with profiles things, it just generally seems it's easier. It's best to make whatever change it is you want in the Stream Deck app, then close the Stream Deck app, try out the button, hunt for the Brigadoon app if you need to go back in to change something. Speaking of one button though to do many things, I just said that there was a multi-action as well as a multi-action switch, but you've also just seen multi-action in, well, action. Choose that, drag it to a button, and you get a very similar canvas to the multi-action switch. You can just drag as many actions to the canvas as you want. Just keep on going. That's all you do this time with just multi-action. You don't have a 1-2 thing. There's no on, off. It's just multi-action stuff. Okay, you're making a list really of actions, and the Stream Deck will just go through each one in turn whenever you press the button. And I probably mean whenever you press the button, because I don't think I've got any multi-action buttons myself, but I could, you can. I suppose it's one way to cope with the fact that actually you are going to run out of buttons, or everyone runs out of buttons. There's another way to cope with that though, and it's a better way of not running out of buttons. You just might need that third biscuit right about now. Profiles. It's time for profiles. Look at this again, please. The one hardware Stream Deck with all or most or some of its buttons changing completely. It's doing that by going through different profiles. You can set up a whole set of buttons, give it a name, a profile name, and then set up a totally different set of buttons and give that a totally different profile name. And now you've got two profiles, and you can switch between them as you need, changing all or most or some or one of the buttons, whatever you choose, just as you want. There are 3 ways to change between different profiles once you've set one up, and I'll show you how to set one up in a moment. Thing is, of the 3 ways, you're going to often use 2 of them. They are that you can set up a button to switch to a specific profile. In fact, actually, you've seen that. The AI button have there swaps to an apple and cider profile. Or you can have that button switch to the next in the list if you have 2 or more of them. Right? The other way, though, that you are going to use, and I'm quite sure you'll use this a lot, is the automatic switching. Here is my Stream Deck when I'm in an app called Slack. If I instead, just on the Mac, not touching the Stream Deck, go over to, say, Apple Mail instead, the Stream Deck automatically changes to a different set. It's changing to a different profile to give me different buttons. To arrange this automatic stuff, to set that up, that's when you most often use the 3rd way of changing profiles. The road less often needed kind of thing. Open the Stream Deck app, click on the line that's just there, just below the name of your Stream Deck, and then choose Edit Profiles. Click on a profile. Actually, even if you've only just got your Stream Deck, you will at least have one thing. You will have default profile listed there, and that's enough for this example. When you've clicked on it, you see on the right hand side there, there's all sorts of things, but there is the heading Application. Click on that, click on the drop down that appears, and then pick through that, pick an application, any application you like. Now, anytime you open that app, your Stream Deck changes to that profile immediately. It shows you the buttons that you have decided are most useful for that app, and therefore on that profile, in that view, if you like. All of which, grant you, is total shrug if you've only set up the one default profile and you've got plenty of spare buttons, but it becomes so useful when you have filled up the icons, when you bother to set up more than one profile. And setting up the profile, I said I'd show you, and it should be easy because just now I said click on the line below where it says your name, the name of your Stream Deck, and you already saw it. You saw it said new profile. I think you worked out what that one does. But there is also this. If you have sharper eyes, you might also have spotted that there's a plus sign at the bottom left of that box about changing profiles, changing over profiles per application. Either way, you've got it. New profile plus, no, yeah, done. In theory, that's it. It's as easy as it sounds. And in practice, yeah, it's practically as easy as it sounds. It's just new profile or the plus. It's only, there are a couple of things, well, one major thing really, that will, if I tell you now, it'll help stop you grumble later, like I have grumbled later. Look at that button for turning on my light, please. If I now switch to the profile I use when I'm in Apple Mail, when it automatically switches to that, the button is gone. But if I go to the Apple Insider profile, there it is. There's my light. Yeah, I think you've worked this out. I put the light on the main, the default profile, and I remembered to also copy it, to put it on at least some of the others. I got a bit bored, a bit distracted, didn't really finish it off, and I know I should. For your sanity, I suggest that rather than always choosing new profile, you instead, when you want to make a new profile, you go into that profiles window. So click on the line below the name of your Stream Deck, choose edit profiles, and then in that window that appears, in that preferences section that appears, right click on, say, your default profile, really just any profile that's already there that you like, and choose duplicate. That obviously makes an exact copy of that whatever profile it was you first selected, and you can now remove or change or add, do anything you like to buttons, and the ones that you still want to be where they are, they just stay there. At some point you're still going to have to do this business of schlepping through, copying one button around, re-adding it somewhere, because you're going to be adding these things over time. You're going to be adding them over the years. I mean, for example, the light example I keep coming back to, I had this Stream Deck for at least 2 years before I bought the light. Before I saw the light, actually before Amazon put it on Prime Day sale, really. Which leaves us with, how do you copy a button from one profile to another? I'll tell you what, let me do that one with the light, since it is the one I actually need to do. Click to select the button that you want to copy. Press Command C to copy it. And then remember, by the way, there are no menu bars in this. There's no menus. So Command C keystroke is the only way to copy. There's no file copying or edit copy, anything like that. So Command C it is. You then switch to the other profile, pick a button, click to select it, press Command V to paste. You saw me hesitate there. Yeah, I hesitated for a moment because, as it happens in this profile I've switched to, there's already a button on my mail profile, in this case a button where I was going to put the light. So for now what I've done is I've just pasted the light button into the nearest blank spot, onto the nearest blank unused button. I could have just pasted it over the one you see in position there, the clock. It would replace it, but since I had a blank spot next, fine. Only it is good actually having the same button in the same place across multiple profiles if it's something you're going to use all the time across multiple profiles. So you can also, instead of pasting it and recreating it, you can do this. Not only can you drag a button into a new slot anywhere when there's nothing there, but if there is something there already, this is dragging, not pasting. You drag and what was there swaps positions with where you've dragged from. So, buttons, profiles, oh my. There is more, but this is the time to talk about the Stream Deck Marketplace. Open the Stream Deck app, click on this small but brightly coloured icon towards the top center, and you're bounced out of that app to a website. On that website, you can get an array of I'm gonna have to call them things. Really, I can't think of a better word. Really, an array of things. Plan to call it that. An array of things for your Stream Deck. And I know the moment you heard the word marketplace, you thought, aye, more money to be spent. Well, yeah, potentially, but not entirely. As it happens, everything that I've got so far from the marketplace, which isn't very much at all, but everything I've got, it seems to be, that was all free. And as I look around, the majority of things appear to be free. I mean, I looked pretty randomly. I did find one thing. I found a set of 600 Final Cut Pro icons that cost about $10. And yet, actually, that's why I'm mentioning this here. Icons are in the marketplace as well. So, as well as that thing, the Elgato icon library, the Elgato key creator, and your own DIY image editor solutions, there's yet more icons to be had in the marketplace. And in another sense, there's yet more in the marketplace, because as well as icons, you can have sounds. Okay. Multi-action button. You've got a ton of things happening in a row. I mean, they're all going to take a little bit of while. You want to pop off for a cup of tea or something. I suppose you could set play sound as the last of the multi-actions. I can see that. So it goes through them all, then plays sound. Here in the kitchen, you're fine. Similarly, you can have a button and download music. Pick a track, add it to a button, press the button. No. Yeah, all right. Well, I'm not judging. There are also screensavers. Most of these, I've just found it looking at, do cost money, from a couple of pounds or dollars to, I think the highest I saw was in the 10 range, somewhere about that. In all of them, free or paid, you download them, they become a new profile on your Stream Deck, and in that profile, when you switch to it, all the buttons, they work together, they show part of a moving image. It's very nice. Speaking of profiles though, you can buy or get or download for free some of those pre-built on the marketplace, and then you can either use them as they are, you can copy buttons out that you like, you move them around, you do whatever you want, but they are available in the marketplace. It keeps going on, this marketplace. But here's the best part: plugins. Plugins in the Stream Deck marketplace. A plugin is like a little utility, I suppose, that lets you have a button that controls other apps, or sometimes hardware. So audio, music, you could add a volume up and down button if you just chose to get the free volume controller plugin. Or you could get a plugin I particularly like called KM Link. And now we are talking so very useful. The KM in KM Link stands for Keyboard Maestro. And there actually, as it turns out, there are a couple of ways to control this app, the Keyboard Maestro app, on your Mac through the Stream Deck. But as far as I've found with my use, the free KM Link is the best, I think. And what you do is you add KM Link, this plugin, to a button, and then you say which Keyboard Maestro macro you want that button to run when you press it. If you've never heard of Keyboard Maestro, well, then you are reasonably, quite fully right to be shrugging at this moment, but you are also missing out. Short version: buy Keyboard Maestro. Slightly longer version: buy Keyboard Maestro now. I love it that much. But it's so big, it's so much to explain. Keyboard Maestro lets you control, I think, just about anything conceivable on your Mac. It's an incredibly powerful thing, and once you use it, you're hooked. All that stuff you saw, the opening apps, yeah, you could do that in Stream Deck, but arranging them across the screen and then swiping the screen across to put another one there and swiping back for it, that was all Keyboard Maestro. And in fact, I pressed a button on my Stream Deck which triggered the KM Link, which set the macro running, the Keyboard Maestro macro running, that did all of that. So as far as I'm concerned, I pushed a button and it happened, but that's what was going on in the background. But this isn't about what went on in the background. It's not about Keyboard Maestro, it's not even about KM Link. It's about how the marketplace and plugins, you can get so many, or you can buy so many. You download any of these plugins that are available to you, and that becomes part of your Stream Deck. You use it to control, yeah, Keyboard Maestro, or maybe YouTube. I think there's a YouTube plugin, or a Philips Hue lights. Control them around your house, not just by your desk. And you use these plug-in controls in as many or as few Stream Deck buttons as you want. Once you have downloaded the plugin, it's there forever in your list of actions, and you can drag any action to a button. You can drag all of them to multi-action things, precisely the same way you do with all of the actions that you've seen so far, all of the actions that come with the Stream Deck. So, rather than put you off by going into far too much detail about any given plugin, even the great KM Link, let me instead put you off by telling you what a Stream Deck costs. And then, please hang around for a minute or two longer, because as I record this in 2024, there's something really nice coming to Stream Deck soon. I mean, I was actually quite excited about it, and it's coming over the next few months. This, the one I've got, is called a Stream Deck XL, and it goes on sale a lot, and actually please stay where it is. I bought it in a sale. Retail price for it is $250 or £230. It's the most expensive of the Stream Decks going, and there are a lot going. There are many different Stream Decks, and for the most part, I mean the gigantic most part, the difference is in the number of buttons. In every case bar one, the buttons are precisely as you see here. The same size, the same full color image, the same nice feel as you push them, and you set them up in exactly the same way. It's just with a Stream Deck XL, you get 32 buttons. I started out with this, which is just called Stream Deck. Actually, it's got 15 buttons, and it costs at the moment $130 or £150, again, sometimes on sale. There's an even smaller one with just 6 buttons called the Stream Deck. Called the Stream Deck Mini. That's it, and that's currently $60 or £60. So yeah, it's getting cheaper and fewer buttons. Something I think that is superb is you could buy any of these to start with, and then when you get hooked and you buy another one, you buy a bigger one, you can just use them both. You can use them all, actually. The old one, the new one, the biggest, the smaller ones. I don't believe there's actually any limit to how many Stream Decks you can use on the same Mac at the same time. So actually, at one point I had my old 15 button over to that side of the desk and the 32 here in the middle. I've been moving that 15 around quite a bit, and it's currently in a box somewhere in this at present untidy office. But my plan now is to get it out and to pack it with my MacBook Pro whenever I travel. But now there are also three more types of Stream Decks to tell you about at present. And this time, let's go for, well, it's not the cheapest. Given the price, given the number of buttons, given the extra functionality, let's call this one the lowest overall cost one. I think that's the best way to describe it. Or I could just tell you that it's the newest one. Really? Couldn't I? The Stream Deck Neo. Stream Deck Neo comes in white, and it has 8 proper Stream Deck buttons, plus this little display, and 2 of what are called touch points, the little white lines next to the display. You can touch those, and the Stream Deck will change to a different profile. So for swapping between different profiles, you still set the profiles up in exactly the same way, but you touch on these things. You don't have to lose a whole button to doing it, to switching between them. Stream Deck Neo is part of an Elgato range called Neo, which is intended to provide a kind of lower cost, a consumer version. That's what it says, a consumer version of the company's major products, such as lights, webcams, Stream Decks. If I were buying now, not having used the full XL version, then it would be the Stream Deck Neo that I would be buying at first. There is also the Stream Deck Plus, which is also quite new, and it comes in white or black, and it has 8 buttons, this display, and 4 knobs. really for turning. That's $200 or £200. I'm not honestly fussed about being able to turn a knob to something. As it happens, I've nothing that I think would particularly benefit from it. But I suppose, of course, you could turn up the volume on something, or you could dim lights. And then lastly, there's kind of an outlier, a slightly odd one called the Stream Deck pedal. No screen on this. It's something you sling under your desk, and it gives your feet 3 buttons. I think it's 3 buttons. I'm pretty sure of that, but I haven't got one, and it's a little hard to be certain about it. But I believe 3 buttons. 3 buttons that you can press with your tootsies under your desk. So it's like the pedals on a piano kind of thing. And of course, the idea is that instead of even just pressing a button to leave a Zoom call, you can be all jazz hands, and then maybe you could just mute yourself with a press a button, but you could definitely leave the Zoom call, things like that. Stream Deck pedal, if it appeals to you, costs $90 or £80 at the moment. Last thing to tell you in this 3 biscuit guide, since these guides are meant to be absolutely comprehensively one single video to show you everything that I'm able to figure out and tell you anything there is to know. One more thing, because this isn't here yet, but I still think you need to know about it, because it's really nice, and I think it's actually very clever. Right at the start of this video, I said that Stream Deck was for the Mac, and well, it is. I wouldn't lie to you. If I'm going to lie to you, I'd lie about more interesting things than that. You get the Stream Deck, you install the app on your Mac, and that's it. Stream Deck is available to you in every Mac app, across every Mac function, utility, anything you can think of. If you can do it on the Mac, you can do it in the Stream Deck, push a button, off it goes. But iPads are different. They work differently. Unless you're Apple, you cannot make an iPad app that works everywhere, that's constantly available no matter what else you're doing, whatever else is on your screen on your iPad. Instead, each iPad app is its own siloed world. It is all running on iPad OS, so Apple's OS underpins everything, and that's what makes every app behave basically the same way. Selecting items is the same, opening files is the same, that kind of thing. It's all the same. It's a familiar one experience, but no third-party company can make an iPad app that can provide any features, any service to any other app. But a few weeks ago now, as I record this, Elgato, the maker of the Stream Deck, announced a new project called Stream Deck for iPad. It is coming, and really it's so clever. Rather than try to get Apple to add Stream Deck support to the iPad as a base, to iPad OS, Elgato is instead going to app developers directly and asking them to support it just within their own apps. So when all of this is done, maybe OmniFocus, my favorite to do app, maybe that will support Stream Deck. That'd be nice. And maybe Pixelmator, an image editor, will as well. If, as a user on the iPad, I switch from OmniFocus to Pixelmator, well, I suddenly lose all of the OmniFocus Stream Deck support, but I immediately gain all of the Pixelmator Stream Deck support instead. So functionally, for us as writers and users, it'll look the same as it does on the Mac. You'll switch apps, and the Stream Deck, if you choose, might change profiles, but it'll be up to you. It'll still just work. You'll still have the buttons that you have set up. They're just behind the scenes being handled for you by different apps along the way. So you will be able to connect your Stream Deck using USB-C connector to your iPad, and you will be able to use it there. So when you too buy a small Stream Deck and then later on in your addiction get a bigger one, well, then you can chuck the smaller one, or the larger actually for that matter, into your bag and carry it along with your iPad, or like I said earlier, your MacBook Pro. For this new idea to work though, this new project, it needs developers to sign on, needs them to help. And I think really for it to catch on, it needs a lot of developers. And right now, as I say, early days. And yet Elgato says it expects to launch a usable public version of Stream Deck for iPad for users, not just for developers, before the end of the year 2024, this year. That's it. But no, wait, no, sorry. I missed one, probably deliberately. There is a free Stream Deck for iPhone. Ignore it. It's like having a photograph of a Stream Deck. I mean, admittedly, actually a photo where you can tap on the image of a button and it will do things. Yeah, and admittedly, okay, also admittedly a photo that can have up to 64 buttons if you subscribe from $3 or £3 a month, or there's a one-off purchase of $50 or 50 pence. All right, actually, okay, I'm not keen myself, but maybe if you had an old iPad knocking around, you could pop that on there and do something with it. If you did, if you were to choose the Stream Deck mobile app, well, then you'd work it in much the same way as you've now seen at some length about the real Stream, the real one. Yeah, actually, that's the right term. The real Stream Deck mobile could be the same. I do also, just as a very, very last point, I want to say that I kind of go in waves. You see that I love this. I am obviously hooked enough as well because I went from the small to the XL version, but it goes in waves, in patches. There was a while where I realized I was only using about 2 buttons on it, but then over time, those 2 buttons become 4. I've added more, and we are now at the stage where I miss this Stream Deck when I'm not at my own Office Mac. But now, that's it for this 3 Biscuit edition of 58 Keys on the Stream Deck. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, eh? Write more, push buttons, write things, and I'll see you soon.